An off week for a football team is amazing. It gives them time to relax and also focus on some things they can do to get better when they step on the field again. What are some things the Buckeye football team can do to get better during the second half of the football season? We'll discuss those today on Locked On Buckeyes.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Thursday, October 13th in the year 2022. And today's episode of Locked On Buckeyes is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. I would also like to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. On today's episode, we will discuss and recap what we learned from the Ohio State basketball team at Big Ten Basketball Media Days and stock up, stock down through week 6 of the Ohio State football season. But before we get to any of that, the off-week vibes, man, they are real. They are enjoyable. It's a great time for the team to relax and get off their feet and prepare their bodies for the second half of the season, where the Buckeyes will face a really, really, really good Penn State and Indy Lions team on Halloween weekend. Of course, the game against the team up north, Thanksgiving weekend. There are some other games in there as well. A couple more road trips in the second half of the season. And the Buckeyes are tasked with something that they didn't have last year, and they didn't really have the year before. 2019 was special. 2020, not so much. 2021, a little bit different. 19 was the first time that I can think, or the last time I can think, the football team is tasked with something that they're tasked with right now. Fine-tuning things on a football team that is really, really good. The Buckeyes aren't perfect. They can get better in numerous areas. And there are 3 specific things that come to my mind when I think about how and what the Buckeyes can do during this week, towards the end of this week, where we are right now, to prepare for the second half of the season. One of them is simply get healthy, man. Like, I'm not even going to try to sugarcoat it or say anything. The injury bug does not hit the Buckeyes like it has in previous years at times. But the injuries are still a little concerning and sometimes puzzling and questioning. What's going on? What's going on with these players? Now, somebody I've heard, I don't know if it was a tweet or a podcast I listened to, but somebody said maybe there are more injuries because you're doing more good-on-good reps in practice. It's possible. That's also how you get better. So you got to kind of figure out, well, do you want to go good on good? Do you want to go good against the twos or the scout team? Like, what do you want to do? And so I don't really say that is why the injuries are there. I think that I've been questioning and wondering why players at Ohio State get injured so much ever since I became the host of this podcast and began covering Ohio State back in 2020. Things have always been a little bit interesting, but you got to get healthy. At the cornerback position, Jordan Hancock is still injured. Thinking you might get him back towards the end of this month, but that's still TBD to be determined. Denzel Burke has been hammered with injury. Cam Brown, once again, has been down with injury. You got to get these guys healthy, man. Like, you literally, and I know there's only so much the players, the medical staff can do to get players healthy. I firmly understand that. But getting healthy in this time period during this week is key for the Buckeyes' success, not only in the regular season, but also in the postseason, because the Buckeyes have aspirations to play in and win the Natty this year. You got to get healthy. Another thing they got to do is figure out the rotations in certain areas, primarily the defensive line. That's one thing that I've been focused on and wondering when that little rotation will be kind of tightened down, or if what we have seen so far is something that we will see down the road. Because it's clear, once you get past the top 5 or 6 defensive linemen, there is a drop-off and playing 8 to 10 guys might not be good in games against the Penn State or a game against the Michigan or schools like that where they have good running backs. Blake Corum's good. Nicholas Singleton at Penn State, he is good. You got to realize, hey, if our run defense is good and it's all lined up and it's mainly because of the play of our front, we got to figure out, hey, man, like what's going on. Now, I understand a week ago, Mike Hall didn't start. He was on a pitch count, 7 plays, 2.5 sacks. That is still amazing to me, blows my mind. But Mike Hall's another one. You want to get healthy. Mayan Williams, you want to get healthy. Travion Henderson, you want to get healthy. Jackson Smith-Njigba, you want to get healthy. You want to get Cam Babb healthy as well. Like Court Williams, you want to get all Babb and Court Williams are captains who have not been able to play of late and not play like they wanted to in 2022 due to injury. You got to get healthy, man. You got to get the rotation together. But also you got to work on the technique of every player. But if I wanted to pinpoint one position group and how in a certain area of the game they can get better, it's about how the corners notice where the ball is and spot the ball in mid-route and know how to utilize their ball skills or maybe even create some ball skills during this week so that when it's one-on-one coverage or you're in a zone and you have to come over, you have to try to high point the ball and figure out how to defend the pass, you know what you're doing and how to accomplish the goal. Now, I'm not saying always go for a pick. Get your hand up, disrupt the pass, disrupt the vision of the receiver. I remember back when I was years ago, I remember watching Kobe Bryant play basketball. And I don't know if it was Ruben Patterson, the quote-unquote Kobe stopper, which there is not a thing, or if it was somebody else defending, maybe Rajah Bell when he played for the Suns. I forget exactly who it was, but there would be numerous defenders when it came to Kobe Bryant. And this is the first time I noticed it. Not saying it was the first time it happened in the National Basketball Association, but I noticed the NBA defenders. These are top-tier, all defensive type guys that were literally putting their hand in the face of Kobe Bryant, trying to shield and mess up his vision. They weren't going for the ball. Now, Kobe's shooting, their hand's not going for the ball. They're going right for his face. And those of you on YouTube can see, as I'm covering my face, I can't see myself on my computer screen right now. And that's what they were doing. They were muddying up the vision of Kobe Bryant. Now, Kobe's still a dog. He was still hitting a lot of those shots, and we were still oohing and eyeing and amazing at what Kobe Bryant was doing on the basketball court. But they changed up their defense to try to slow down one of the best players in NBA in the NBA at the time, and also one of the best players we have ever seen touch a basketball. But you have to change things up. One thing the Buckeyes fail to do at times is really locate the ball mid-route. Figure out how to do that. Work on those things right now, especially the latter part of the week, to prepare for the second half of the season. Because if you want to play better teams, they're going to be throwing the ball more as you get up and have a bigger lead. And if you work on those things, get them fine-tuned now, it's easier for you to win games during the second half of the season. Ohio State's football team is good. They're not perfect. Those are just a few things they can work on, even at this point during their off week. The off week was special for the football team, but it also brought us Big Ten basketball media days. Ohio State basketball coach Chris Holtmann, along with 3 players, were there in Minneapolis, Minnesota at the Target Center representing Ohio State and talking to the media. What do we learn from their appearance at Big Ten basketball media days? We'll tell you next right here on Locked on Buckeyes. BetOnline.net is your number one source for football betting info this season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sport wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you for tuning in to Locked on Buckeyes here on a Thursday. Remember to check out the Locked on Buckeyes podcast from just a day ago, as myself and Jeff Hunt from the Off the Ball Network gave the grades for the Ohio State offense Every position got a grade. We discussed those. We discussed them on yesterday's show. Go check that out. It's free and available wherever you get your fine podcast, on the YouTube page at Locked on Buckeyes, or on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify app, on the Odyssey app, wherever you get your fine podcasts. You can find Locked on Buckeyes there. Big Ten Basketball Media Days. Yesterday's show of the Jay Stevens podcast, they talked about the upcoming NBA season. And myself and Chris LeBron, who is the president of the Off the Ball Network, we had a little conversation about the basketball season coming up. And he said it kind of crept up on us. And that's kind of how the college basketball season is going to be as well. It's going to creep up on us, just like the upcoming NBA season will creep up on us as well. Chris Holtmann spoke to the media, had a live session that was live on the Big Ten Network. And then, of course, the three players had their own podium session. And Chris Holtmann had a longer session where he was able to speak to the media once again. Three players represented Ohio State. These are also captains for the Buckeyes this year. Zed Key, in his third year as a Buckeye, Justice Suing, coming off of an injury, everything I'm hearing and seeing and reading, he is healthy, which is amazing. Then Isaac Likely, number 13 for the Buckeyes, a transfer from Oklahoma State. A few of the players, as I look at the roster of numbers that you might want to say, who is that guy? Here is his number. There are numerous new faces on the roster, 4 true freshmen, numerous transfers. There are some guys that are walk-ons as well. So you might look at the roster on the internet and be like, wow, there are a lot of new faces. And you might say, what should we expect? My expectations, I don't really have any right now. None that are like astronomical because I don't know just yet. Transfer from Wright State, Tanner Holden. He's also an Ohio native from Wheelersburg, Ohio. Roddy Gale is one of the 4 true freshmen at Ohio State. He's number 1. Another newcomer, true freshman, is Bruce Thornton. He is number 2. Isaac Likely, one of the captains, number 13. Bryce Sensabaugh, number 10 for Ohio State, another true freshman for the team. Well, at Big Ten Media Days, those 3 of the 4 freshmen came up, and Chris Holtmann ended up talking about how the 4 freshmen will be needed and utilized to be a big piece of the pie for Ohio State in 2022. Now, you might want to say, Jay, do you really think Ohio State needs a freshman to play? I'm going to say, yeah, I do. With the amount of guys that Ohio State lost, some to graduation, some just stopped playing. Yeah, and I forget his name. The transfer from Ivy League, I forget his name. But he was hampered with injuries, and he also medically retired. Also, guys going to the NBA, Malachi Branham, EJ Liddell. You need some guys there that are freshmen to play in this case, and Chris Holtmann believes that these guys are going to be needed this year. Here's a direct quote from Chris Holtmann from his appearance at Big Ten Media Days talking about the freshmen at Ohio State. Quote, I think that will be as key as anything to our season this year. It's not just the development of our 4 freshmen, but the development of those 2 guards, Thornton and Gale, and the growth that they take. We know how important guard and wing play is in college basketball, and certainly in the NCAA tournament, the versatility that provides, end quote. It's a tricky slope, a slippery slope a coach might find himself on if he's constantly relying on the freshmen at Ohio State or a school to be successful. Yes, you might say, Jay, it worked for John Calipari at Kentucky. Okay, yes, Calipari has a factory. Kentucky basketball is also on a different level than Ohio State, so recruiting there and recruiting elite players is easier there than it is at Ohio State. That's no big hot take. It's just reality. But also, you don't want this to happen every year. Like, you don't want to have a freshman. You need to rely on freshmen every year to develop them in the season to be successful. John Calipari, his team is also kind of taking a dip, a downward slide, not far from the success they had about a decade ago. And Calipari is going to have to try to find how to be successful once again over there in Lexington. Also, Chris Holtmann talked about the captains. Justice Suing, Zed Key, Isaac Likely. Here's what he had to say about these guys. Quote, Likely's really a competitive kid. He just can't get bored with the daily process of getting better. And I think that's what we challenged him with. But there's a reason why he was voted a captain. He's just got a charisma to him. Our 3 captains are, as of now, I think we could add 1, and we're looking at adding 1. But our 3 captains are Justice Suing, Zed Key, and Isaac Likely. I don't know who the other captain could be or would be, possibly another transfer. But that's literally up to Chris Holtmann and the team if they add another player. Justice Sueing sprained his ankle last week. Not what you want to hear, not what you want to see. But he's getting healthier. Not the limitations and not the team, the issues he had a year ago. But Chris Holtmann also spoke on the injury status of Justice Sueing. Quote, he's had no limitations right now. He had tweaked his ankle, and that limited his practice last week. He was out probably for 3 or 4 days with just an ankle sprain. Outside of that, he's ready. He's really been full go, end quote. Here he also went on to discuss some things that he saw and that he's seen and witnessed from Sueing so far this offseason. Quote, you're starting to see some things. I think there will be a little bit of rust once we get to games as well, but he's in great shape. He's really worked hard. I'm really proud of Justice. As a coach, really happy for a young man to get back and be able to enjoy his final year of college basketball. Now, this might be the most surprising and startling thing that came out of Big Ten media days, Big Ten basketball media days. It's coming from Holtmann and Zed Key, is that Zed Key has the green light from downtown. Yes, you heard that correctly. I'll say it again. I might even do some more emphasis, not screaming A. Smith style, but, Jay Styles a little bit different. Zed Key has the green light from downtown. Hey, y'all, at the game, I am not thinking we're going to get Zed Key and his shot's going to be more of a Ben Simmons style 3-point shot. I sure hope not. Some of y'all might fall out of your chairs if Zed Key shoots a 3 inside the shot. And you're like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? What are we watching here? I don't think it's going to be like that, but I think we might be surprised with how frequently it'll go in. But I am still kind of amazed that he has a green light in year 3 at The Ohio State University. Not reading a quote from Chris Holtmann, reading a quote from Zed Key about what Zed Key thinks right now about the freedom he has from the 3-point line. I'm still amazed that this is a thing. Quote, I'm definitely going to have the green light to be able to shoot this year. I've worked really hard with the coaches this summer on expanding my game in that area and other areas. So they want me to shoot. It helps expand out the defense and open up driving lanes for passing on offense. So they definitely want me to shoot. And I'll definitely be shooting some threes this year, end quote. Y'all that have been around for a while, y'all know how I am with the basketball. And I try to go with my guys at Key all the time. But Zed, I am laughing because your boy does not want to see Zed Key back there shooting threes from what I have seen so far on the basketball court. Now, that could be different. Here he's shooting above 30%, more 32, 33%. Hitting 1 for every 3-point shots he's shooting in practice when they chart those shots. Great. But I'm still laughing, y'all, because that keeps shooting threes. That brings humor to my life. Of course, that could be more of a thing needed in games if those bad boys start going down. Big Ten basketball media days are complete. The Buckeyes were at center stage already. And I can't wait to see the Buckeye basketball team and how they transform this team and how they mesh this team with a lot of new faces on the roster. Stock up, stock down is next. We'll discuss that right here through week 6 on Locked on Buckeyes. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. And the best service in Central Ohio. Billiards Plus also can set you up with a brand new top-of-the-line grill that will last for generations. We all know how hard it is with the supply chain issues this year and getting certain things shipped on time. So when it comes to ordering that one big gift for Christmas, check out Billiards Plus and get there early this year. Pick something out and get it shipped in time for Christmas. It is a gift the whole family will enjoy year-round. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Ohio, Canada, billiards, and more. Plus, top-of-the-line grills from PK Napoleon, Memphis, and Le Griddle. That will be the last grill you own. Seriously, these grills stand the test of time. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Check them out at billiards-plus.com. Once again, check them out at billiards-plus.com. Billiards Plus, family owned and operated for generations. Locked on Buckeyes, along with all our other Cleveland podcasts, are now available on Roku and Amazon Fire TV as part of Locked on Sports Cleveland. More great local sports coverage 24/7, and it's free. Download the Locked on Sports Cleveland app today on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. Stock up, stock down. You might want to say, Jay, it's really difficult to have a stock down after a 49-20 performance against the Michigan State Spartans, but Spartans, who are a bad football team, scored 20 points. We'll discuss some of those things later in the show, but stock up is easy. It's clear. I'm going with somebody that only played 7 plays, had 2.5 sacks, and he was a pass rushing defensive tackle that was doing big things. My call. One, we need this man healthy, but even when he's not at 100%, he is making things hard for the opposing offense. Mike Hall, this was an easy one. He is a dog. We need dogs on the defense. The Buckeyes teams has needed dogs on defense for quite a long time. Maybe Pete Warner and Baron Browning would have been dogs if they were utilized in different ways. But no, who knows? Don't want to go in the past. Right now, Mike Hall Jr. is a dog. Stock up for Mike Hall Jr. Stock up on QB1, CJ Stroud. Not only my preseason favorite in prediction to win the Heisman, also the betting odds to win the Heisman right now at this point in the season. Barring any injuries that he suffers this year, I do see his play and him getting better and him having Heisman-esque moments on national television to win the Heisman in 2022. Stroud special. Stroud is amazing in what he is doing, even when he is getting there's a man in his face, and one of his blockers is getting pushed back into him. Stroud is still literally dropping the ball into the bucket of his receiver, even if his receiver has to make an amazing catch. Marvin Harrison Jr. in the front left of the end zone is still happening, and Stroud, even on that play, had a player push back into him. What happened? He dropped the ball in the bucket, an underthrow that was still even a touchdown. Hey, Stroud, QB1, stock up on Travion Henderson, a player that I've been critical of, a player that broke records during his freshman year a year ago, a player that at Ohio State many people have high hopes for, and they're putting high expectations next to his name, just like they have for Zach Harrison. Stock up for Travion Henderson, because the patient running that we saw a week ago was huge. Also, stock up Denzel Burke. This is not in my notes, but I'm going to talk about the corners here in a second. But a guy that many people, myself, you, maybe your grandma, have been critical of in his play in 2022. It's clear he is working on something in practice. It's clear. It's clear that Peyton Thorne was not going his way a week ago. It's clear that Denzel Burke can still play good football. And it's clear that Denzel Burke's stock up is up through 6 games in 2022. 2 for stock down. One of them is easy. I just kind of gave you a hint. The other one might be a little off the wall, but you'll understand it. Stock down on the corners being able to locate the ball in pass coverage. Who was it? There were 3 guys. Cam Brown got beat. J.K. Johnson was a casualty. And then Jair Brown was a casualty late in the game. Now, granted, you say, Jay, some were zone, some were man, some needed help. It doesn't matter. A player should be able to locate the ball in midair, mid-route, to be able to know how to defend the ball. Those are things you've worked on not only in practice at Ohio State, but also in high school and beyond. Stock down. I hope this doesn't continue. Stock down on Ohio State coaches for not being able to find and solidify in a consistent returner at Ohio State. This is the only team I know out there that has a linebacker returning the football at times on kickoffs. You may say, Jay, he used to be a running back. The players say he's all fast and he can ooh and ah and all this stuff. I get it. I get your excitement. But we have yet to see it at Ohio State, and I am really wondering, what is their confusion? Is Ekbuka the guy? Are you trying to save him because he's a big piece of the pie on offense in the passing game? Well, you knew that was going to happen before going into the season. Figure it out. It's college football. Yes, I understand. Things are a little bit tricky. Maybe they're going to keep trying different things in these moments. But stock down, man. Too much talent on this team. You got some guys on defense that aren't in the linebacker room. A DB is and somebody in the secondary that can go out there and get the job done in the return game. It's one of those where you just got to figure it out. It's just weird that we're through 6 games. And not only has there not been a kick return, a punt return for a touchdown this year, but one was called back, but there still should be one that was not called back happening so far right now and in the season. But it has not happened just yet. Out of here on this Thursday. Guys, enjoy the day. One more day coming up on tomorrow's show. The plan is to grade every position group, every position on the Ohio State defense. D-line, linebackers, corners, and safeties. All 4 of them will get grades. We'll go over them tomorrow. The plan is to have Jeff Hunt from the Off the Ball Network back with us tomorrow to go over the grades for the Ohio State defense. It'll be a little bit spicier than what we discussed on Wednesday's show when we regarded the offense. You want to check that out and come back tomorrow to hear what we think about the Ohio State players on the defensive side of the ball. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. Make sure you subscribe to Locked on Buckeyes on YouTube. Help us inch closer to hitting our goal of 2,000 subscriptions on the YouTube. Guys, out of here on this Thursday. One more show left. Enjoy the bye week this weekend, the off day, no game. Go out to an apple orchard, a pumpkin orchard, whatever it is. Watch the football at home if you want to. Spend some time with your family, your friends, your kids, your girlfriend, your wife, your spouse, whatever it is, your boyfriend, whoever. Spend some time with them. Enjoy it. Enjoy this time period. And also, go Bucks!